Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lesson 5 of your Indie Business University Success Path. Let's take a moment to quickly recap the journey that we've been on so far. Our first lesson was all about making sure that you plan your life before you plan a business. And certainly for those of you who already have a business, it's all about making sure that you are constantly tweaking your business to make sure that it fits in with your life plan. And obviously you're going to be constantly tweaking your life plan as well. These two things go hand in hand, and they are constant requirements as you grow your business and as you move forward in your life. Our second lesson was all about list building. So I hope that you all have taken the time to create an email list of people that you can begin talking to about your plans for your business, what sorts of things you have in mind. And obviously, if you already have a business, you want to make sure that you're using that list on a regular basis and that you are communicating with your customers and your clients and developing those all-important relationships that always lead to sales. Lesson 3 was all about website design, and this was like the very, very beginning of website design, right? The types of websites there are, the basic sorts of platforms that you can build a website on, and this topic is huge, so we cover it throughout the entire year. But for beginners and people who don't have a website, we talked about tips to help you kind of just get started with a one-pager, and for those of you who already have a website, you might want to be doing some tweaking as you go. And as I'll say, from my 20 years of experience, website design never ends. It's a constant process, making sure that your website keeps up with technology, making sure that it continuously serves your customers well, and this has to change over time. So it's a process to make sure that that's done. Lesson 4, all about market research and analysis. I hope that you have taken the action steps that I shared with you and suggested to make sure that you sent out a survey, again using SurveyMonkey, to get to know your customers if you've never done a survey before, and if you have, to tweak those questions and make sure that you're asking the right ones to get the information you need. So here we are at Lesson 5, which is all about targeting your ideal client, right? So you can see the flow here, right? Last week we talked about using surveys to target what your customers want, and so you should have some information in your arsenal now. You should have some feedback from some people about what it is that they're looking for, and you can use that information to target your ideal client and kind of narrow down exactly what sorts of clients and customers you do want to serve. So let's dive in really quickly here. The first thing I want you to know is you can't be all things to all people. Okay, this is a mistake that new entrepreneurs make, and even seasoned ones tend to do this when we launch new products. It's like, oh, I'm so excited, this is a great new product, everyone's going to love it. No, that's not the case. If you try to be all things to all people, you will be no things to all people. Ultimately, you'll get the exact opposite of that. So remember that as you're growing your business. Target a niche, narrow it down. Once you get a niche, niche your niche, make it even smaller. The smaller it is, the more successful you are likely to be. The second thing is to make sure that not only are you not all things to all people, but that you understand the dynamics of entrepreneurship in the sense that not everybody is going to buy your product, right? They're going to maybe like your product. They might even need your product. Like if you make soap, for example, everybody needs to bathe, right? Everybody needs to wash themselves, generally speaking. And so that's, great, but you can't just go make soap and start selling it just because people need it, because people don't always buy what they need. They oftentimes and most frequently actually buy what they want. So you have to get into the head of a target customer to make sure that you're providing actually what they want and not just what they need. Because let's face it, most of what we need can be bought at a discount at a big box store, right? Toilet paper, soap, dishwashing liquid, paper, writing paper, things of that nature. So if you want to actually be successful in a creative and artisan business, you have to make sure that you are niching that niche further down than that. So, and the third thing I want you to know is that it is almost impossible to reverse engineer a target market. And let me tell you what I mean by that. And I worked with so many people over the years who have tried to do this. They'll create a product and it's awesome. It's wonderful. It works well. It looks good. They have great product photos. Their website looks awesome and they're ready to go. But guess what? They have no target audience. So they launched this business to who? Like me, their coaches, their family members. And, we buy something initially, but we're not their target market because they don't have a target market. Okay. And so what they do is sort of announcing, what they end up doing is sort of announcing their business to the world, and the world doesn't care. Okay. So you have to make sure that you are narrowing down your niche and targeting a very specific segment of the population, and making sure that every time you reach out into the universe on behalf of your brand, you are talking specifically to that target audience. And here's a little tip. We really go into depth on this in the paid version of Indie Business University, but here's a really super tip that I sort of developed over the years. As I have done videos for so many years, one of the things I noticed was when I focused on talking to a specific person, like I had an idea of who she was, I knew what she looked like. She actually was a specific person, someone who affirmed my messages constantly, who encouraged me and uplifted me. So every time I did a video, I would picture her in my mind. Like I would look into the camera and I would talk directly to April. And April would be nodding and she would be smiling and she would be saying, yes, I understand. That's exactly what I was thinking. Oh my goodness, you're reading my mind. So I had this notion that April was right in front of me and that I was talking to her. And one of the things that became clear to me was when I was in person with April, I would talk about the same sorts of things where entrepreneurship was concerned, and we would have the best conversations. And she would hang on to every word that I said. So I just translated that real life experience onto the camera as I'm doing now. Hi, April. I'm really just talking to one person. And as I'm talking to one person who is my target customer, I'm also talking to millions of other people who may be watching this video. So when you do your craft fairs and your trade shows and you have one-on-one conversations with your customers, I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. And as you post on Instagram, post on Twitter, post on your blog, send out your newsletter, keep those in-person, real-life, one-on-one experiences with your customers in mind and just extend them to these other places. But make sure that you're not trying to be all things to all people and that you understand that people are not going to buy really what they need. They're going to buy what they want from you. So make sure those things are top of mind. So your action items are to make sure that you understand that and to start whittling down your target market. Take the information you discovered in the survey that you did for last week and narrow that down. Start talking to your clients, your customers, and your prospects, and make sure that every time you reach out into the world on behalf of your business, you are doing it to one person. Find your April. That's the best way for me to describe it. And once you find her, you narrow it down even further and you target her and you talk to her every single time you deal with your brand in terms of your marketing and your sales efforts. So I will see you next week for the next lesson here at Indie Business University. Please post your comments, your feedback, and your takeaways. How did your survey go? Have you targeted your ideal customer? How are you narrowing her or him down to the lowest common denominator so you can maximize your chances of success? See you next week, guys.